But today, it seems reports of his demise were premature.
مؤسسة الفرقان.
In a new audio recording, unverified by NBC News, a man sounding very much like Baghdadi calls on others to join ISIS and unleash what he called volcanoes of jihad.
Hi, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, filling in for Steve today on the Steve Malzberg Show. Joining me now is Major General Paul Vallely, Chairman of Stand Up America. General, thank you for coming on, and more importantly, thank you for your service to this country. So what do you think?
Well, thank you, Dennis.
What's your take on this video? We thought Baghdadi was either dead or seriously injured, and now he's putting out more propaganda. What's your take?
It appears that the initial report of the strike last week was not totally accurate, but you know, when you're using air power drones and you don't have somebody there specifically on the ground to do the post-bombing assessment, you never know for sure what has happened. So in his case, it looks like he survived if he was hit, in fact, at all.
General, you bring up a great point. I have been an advocate for having boots on the ground since the very beginning of this whole ISIS story erupted. And yet the president is adamant on the fact that we won't have boots on the ground. Now, over the last few days, we've heard that ISIS is starting to roll up with other networks throughout Libya, throughout Egypt, and now we have reports out of northern Syria that Al-Qaeda and ISIS have met in a barn and have agreed now to join forces. Is the U.S. prepared, one, and number two, do we need boots on the ground?
Well, Dennis, you know, boots on the ground is a rather nebulous term. We have had people over there in different capacities for a long time, and then we ramped it up to 3,000 and then now over 4,000. But many of those people, I'd say armed forces that are over there, are air-ground operations, special operations, advisors. You've got guards for the embassy there. And so with what's happening, we've basically piecemealed again an attempt to divert ISIS from extending their territorial gains. But having been one of the few, maybe the only one that's been inside Syria in the last 2 years, when Al-Qaeda first introduced itself over there, when you had the Free Syrian Army already there trying to bring Assad down. And of course, they grew in numbers, and Al-Qaeda basically moved its operations from Libya, and many of them went up to Syria to fight. And of course, that now has morphed more into what we call the ISIS forces. It's not that ISIS was a separate group out there all alone. It was more, in my opinion, a morphing type of thing, and that's what you have now, and they're gaining a lot of recruits from all over the place, including the United States and Great Britain. So they are a force to be reckoned with, and you saw how they took down the Iraqi army in northern Iraq very, very quickly. And of course, they're battling on the other side, even against Assad's military forces.
But General, I mean, are we prepared for this? I mean, are we prepared to fight this threat?
No.
Because they're rolling up at a very, very alarming rate, and it seems the president isn't taking this very serious.
Well, he doesn't take a lot of this stuff very serious. So exactly, and that's why I said on Newsmax a couple of weeks ago, I had an epiphany. I don't want to see another drop of American blood shed over there under this leadership and lack of a forward strategy and an end game. I wouldn't put any of our young men and women in harm's way over there unless we have that. And I think Congress and the generals and admirals need to stand up to this White House, which seems to be clueless on any kind of a military strategy. They don't have the people in the White House that understand how to fight this war.
When the President of the United States is speaking with the people who are advising him, do you feel that those people disagree with the President in the way that he's handling this, and they're just sitting back and just accepting what he has to say?
Well, you know, not the likes of Valerie Jarrett or Susan Rice, and I think she's totally inept and should be replaced. I've called for the replacement of the total national security team because America is in grave danger right now. And that's why I'm surprised not more senior people in the Pentagon haven't stood up, or the CIA. Where are the rest of them over there? Because you have a very inept White House staff that doesn't have a clue what to do. And that's why you see the problems. And that's why you see a lack of credibility that we have from our allies over there. Where's that coalition
General,
that they supposedly form?
General, I got to wrap it up. One last question.
Sure.
Another 9/11. You think we'll experience one?
Well, we're gonna experience more attacks because our borders aren't secure. The cells are going to grow.
All right, General. I have to cut it off at that. I thank you very much for
right.
your time. Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
We'll be back with more of the Steve Malzberg Show after the break.